And welcome back to Who Would Win. Today's Who Would Win comes to us from Dion Isaiah Knight, Paralyzer Z, and possibly someone else. I couldn't find everyone. And the question is, who would win a fight? Mayuri Kurotsuchi from Bleach versus Orochimaru from Naruto. Both of these guys exhibit a different variation of the mad scientist trope, where Orochimaru is a scientist with a goal in mind. He ultimately wants to be immortal. Mayuri is literally a mad bastard who sciences for the sake of science. Orochimaru is one of the three legendary Sannin. This is all well known. He has literally gained God knows how many jutsu over the years, has decades worth of experience, and will continue to gain decades worth of experience as long as he keeps reincarnating into individuals. He's modified his body to the point where he has a massive healing factor. And by Boruto, he's actually got a near Wolverine level healing factor. He's also he's also extremely malleable, as we've seen with his body, using the snake, turning his body into like almost like a snake. His real body is a snake at this point. Massive amounts of chakra, capable of actually absorbing chakra, and stealing skills and knowledge just through contact. When he was reincarnated in the Fourth Tsunobi War, he actually, his body gained, no joke, Sakan and Ukon's Keke Genkai, which is able to meld itself into someone's own body. Jugo's clan Keke Genkai, which allows them to process natural chakra in a certain way. Kimimaru's Dead Bone Pulse, which is the bone release, a variation of the hydrification technique which turns them into water. Karin Uzumaki's life force and healing abilities, which is insane. The White Zetsu clone they stole had gained the wood release. And yeah, like seriously, he gained so many things. Plus, he has a summoning jutsu for snakes, all 5 chakra elements, plus yin and yang and wood release add on to that. He does have knowledge of senjutsu, though can't really use it as effectively himself, even with Jugo's DNA. He can't do a sage mode himself. He's vastly intelligent, having decades worth of tactical experience being raised in war. A master of just about any weapon you can think of, swordsmanship particularly, as he wields the Kusagari sword, which is essentially kind of like Shinso for the Bleach fans, capable of lengthening and being extremely sharp. So yeah, Orochimaru was kind of nuts in terms of how strong he ultimately became. Mayuri Kurotsuchi, the earliest record we have Mayuri in like the series chronologically in terms of its timeline, is in the Turn Back to Pendulum arc, where he was in the Magus Nest. We don't know why he was there. We just know that the Magus Nest is the highest security prison they have in the Soul Society, and that he was there. But ultimately he was released under Uehara's care, and therefore he became the third seat of the 12th Division, ultimately becoming the captain, which is the Science Research and Development Division. Yes, hello, puppy. Yes, you're getting the blanket. Are you happy, puppy? It's like, I want the blanket so I can nest. I must nest. I is bird and dog. But yeah, as such, he is the chief inventor and creator of things in the Soul Society. He is probably the third smartest character in the whole overall series. And this is talking about characters like Shinsui, who's extremely intelligent. Ichigo's not, and Byakuya is very intelligent, but no, he is most likely the third smartest individual behind Aizen and Uehara. And even that is, no small feat. As such, so his intelligence leads to being both a master strategist, inventor, chemist, genius level intellect. He's modified his body. He can stab himself with a sword, turn it into liquid. He has a liquid that can regenerate his limbs, no problem. And he's modified his body with prosthetics, including the grappling hook arm he has called the Jabarakayani, or snake belly arm. He has a hidden Kusagari in his ear. uh, so which is basically which is basically a chain scythe, but fleshy. Then he has the ability to hide and blend with the surroundings around him. He replaced his organs in a matter of an hour to go up against Xylopero. He's a tracking expert. He is an expert swordsman, although he's not a like true master swordsman. He's just a proficient swordsman, and he even has a device that um, allows him to um, block, basically predict where a sword is going to go, and block with a sword that he attaches to his Zanbakuto. He's actually described as being one of the most proficient Kido users in the Soul Society. He's a Shunpo expert, being able to move at general Shunpo speeds, which is roughly light speed, roughly. If he can dodge a Suro, which is depicted as actually being light speed, he can dodge light speed. Then he's more or less light speed. He has extreme spiritual energy and power, and enhanced endurance and pain tolerance. His Zanbakuto Akisogi Jizo takes the form of a golden trident with a baby's head for the guard. It allows it. Its ability is basically to deliver a uh, venomous sting, if you will. It's described as kind of like a spider's stabbing bite, if you will. It paralyzes the limb, whatever it hits, but it does not paralyze or numb the pain receptors. You still feel pain. He can go one step further and stick his finger in one of the baby's eyes in its head on the sword, and a dark fluid leaks from the baby's eye, and the mouth opens and it screams. This causes the blood to This causes anyone to hear it for more than 4 seconds who doesn't have Mayuri's blood to be paralyzed. This Bankai, Konjiki Agisoki Jizo, turns into the giant caterpillar baby anyone in Bleach is familiar with, which has blades underneath its side and unleashes a deadly poison, which only Mayuri himself is actually immune to. Its fully realized form, Konjiki Agisoki Jizo Mata Fukin Shotai, turns into a giant purple Buddha baby and births the true Bankai after the fact, which basically adapts to whatever information that he has gained over the course of a fight. In the case with Pernida, a being who could attack nerves, the skin on the inside of Pernida's or inside of the Bankai's stomach had over 70,000 layers. But as it stands, beyond that, he's also invented, as I said, the flesh healing medicine, which allows him to just regenerate anything. He's developed specialized Gigai. He developed fake Kurtan, a special drug that basically enhanced the human senses by what was it? The drug is kept in a blue bottle. It's basically used for elevating reflexes and the reaction speed to perceive stimuli. The drug is kept in a blue bottle, but also inside Nema's body. He's able to make 1 second seem like 100 years. It's needs to be diluted by 250,000 times the amount just to be suitable for use. He also has another drug, which is what was it? The precognition drug, which basically kind of puts you in Izanagi, a time loop. But where the moment you kill Mayuri in the loop, you go back to his perceived time frame beforehand. However, because it's affecting the hippocampus, if you do it more than 10 times, you go into a temporary state of paralysis. He's a blood reorganizing drug, which allows him to recontrol zombies or recontrol blood-controlled individuals. Hirin Kaiku shoes, which mimic the Quincy's Hirin Kaiku, which is their super speed technique, and kind of like use it almost like jet boots. He has a nerve freezing agent or nerve coagulating agent, which literally is a drug injected into the nerves of an organism, which forcibly freezes any organ connected to those nerves. One eyelid will remain open, hearts will not expand, contract, mouths will be unable to shut, the blood of an organism will coagulate, effectively killing the target. And once the drug begins to take effect, the victim's skin becomes a dark coloration. This can be countered by if the target's skin is divided into multiple layers, which allows them to simply shed damaged ones and remain unaffected, as the Promida was. Or if you were to detach, a limb or something, like get hit in the hand, starts to coagulate, cut off the limb, you're good to go. Mayuri, oh, and he also has a device that can collect Ryatsu into these orbs, more or less, that can then store it. Yeah, Mayuri is a mad bastard. If these two met in a fight, who would win? Both, first off, would be having an ego square off, like, oh, interesting. And tell me, are you truly a snake or a man pretending to be? Are you a man pretending to be a snake or a snake pretending to be a man? And I could say the same for you. You claim to be, you wear the robe of a samurai, yet you dress like a clown. It's like, oh, you'll be fun to dissect. And so their fight would probably break down. Orochimaru would probably throw out some snake jutsu, striking shadow snake, whatever, just to feel out Mayuri. But Mayuri's got shit was like, interesting but irrelevant. Is this really all you can muster? Master, I must say, I'm disappointed. All of a sudden, Orochimaru then throws out like giant mass snakes. That's more like it. However, and they just maybe throws out Aikido, blasts a hole through the snakes, and just shimpos through there. Maybe throws his Kusagari at Orochimaru, who just avoids it. You're not much better yourself. A lot of back and forth being played. Kusagari. Finally, Mayuri pulls out his sword, and crawl out, Agisogi Jizo. And so their fight would begin, and the issue at hand for Orochimaru would be because Orochimaru is not above taking, or not below, or no, is not above taking a hit. They'll get him a better advantage of killing an individual. So they'll clash. Mayuri maybe gets like, fortunately for you, I replaced my organs prior to this match. I was intending to fight someone else, but you'll do. It's like, is that really the best you can do? It's like, not cool. I was about to ask you the same thing as Orochimaru got stabbed. Like, my arm! I can't feel my arm. Do you not, what's the matter? Having a little difficulty moving? It's like, your blade. It's like, indeed. And he explains, Kogagi, I see. So then all I have to do is remove this pesky body and just sees him climb out himself with the shed skin technique, and sure enough, his arm's better. He's like, I see. Interesting. What else can you do? And so Orochimaru was summoning jutsu, and summons Mondo. Orochimaru, what am I doing here? What? You'll be greatly rewarded for your effort. I see. Interesting, but I have something like that as well. Bankai. Konjiki Agisogi Jizo. And there they clash. Unfortunately, Mondo would actually be pretty screwed over by that. Between the poison and the blade, Mondo would actually be in not a good position. Granted, I think he's larger than Konjiki Agisogi Jizo, though not by a large margin. They would clash for a bit, but ultimately, Mondo would be like, Orochimaru, damn you. And so, Orochimaru would still say, it's over, you clown. And so, he comes in and cuts down Mayuri, and this is ultimately where I think the issue for Orochimaru in this fight comes up. Orochimaru was arguably harder to kill than Mayuri is. Mayuri does have plenty of methods to keep himself alive, no doubt. But he isn't as hard to physically kill as someone like Orochimaru is. He has methods to stop himself, including stabbing himself, turning to goo, regenerative formula. But he needs to actually, inflict himself with those means of survival to do so. Whereas Orochimaru just has mass regeneration constantly. And that's where Orochimaru has the edge. But the problem here is that in order to beat Orochimaru in a fight, in this case, Mayuri doesn't necessarily have to kill him. He just needs to incapacitate him, and he has ways of administering drugs without you even knowing them. He could do any of his drugs. He could do the loop drug, which in theory could happen here. But that could work, or you could do the superhuman drug. Either one of those, Orochimaru has no immunity towards. There's, as far as I can tell, there's a perception of Orochimaru has like a high resistance to drugs, and he might have high resistance to drugs, but these are very different drugs. Like these are super drugs. Um, but but yeah, it's not something that Orochimaru is over normally prepared to handle. Add on to the fact that Orochimaru Orochimaru has never really experienced poisoning for as far as I can know. He probably has some level of immunity, but it's not something that's ever really brought up. And Mayuri, despite maybe not having, in terms of his actual lifespan, as much on the battlefield experience as Orochimaru, when you do like proportionate to the lifespan, Orochimaru's got far more proportionate to his lifespan. Mayuri not as much. Mayuri is still like thinking many steps ahead. I could even see say, I will become the perfect being. There's nothing someone like you can do. It's like, the perfect being, you say? As Orochimaru is either caught in the loop or something starts to slow down. It's like, what is this? Tell me, it's like, now, you're probably wondering, when did I administer the drug? And then finally, it would basically end with the speech, which I will still do because it's still one of the best speeches in that series. It's like I'm going to be paraphrasing it for the Japanese. I like the English dubs better a little bit more, unless they have, unless I have the English version of it. No, I guess I will just do with the Japanese version. So Orochimaru is probably like just starting to freak out in his own way, or he's just stuck in a brain loop where there's nothing in this world that is truly perfect. Though it may be a rather large cliche, it is still the truth. It is the ordinary people who look up to the perfection as an ideal and seek it. But in truth, what is the idea of perfection truly worth? Nothing! Not a single thing! I detest perfection. To be perfect is to be unable to improve any further. There would be no scope for creation, not a single gap in one's knowledge or one's ability. Do you see? To true scientists like you and I, perfection is a tantamount to despair. We aspire to reach greater levels of brilliance than ever before, but never reach perfection. That is the paradox through which we scientists must struggle. Indeed, it is our duty to find pleasure in that struggle. In other words, the second you allowed yourself to spout ridiculous words like perfection and truth, you had already been defeated. That is, unless, of course, you are truly a scientist at all. And so, yeah, Mayuri would, if it's the superhuman drug, Mayuri would do the killing blow, which he does into Silopero in the fight. If it's the looping drug, he probably doesn't even have to give the speech. He probably just waits for Orochimaru to be completely paralyzed and just decapitates this dude, or just puts literally a blade through his brain, or just puts him in some sort of stasis. Be like, you'll make a fine research specimen. I think the problem here is that Mayuri has abilities Orochimaru is not ready to deal with, whereas Orochimaru has a lot of abilities. But most, if not all of them, are things Mayuri has seen in some capacity. Regeneration, he's seen. Elemental techniques thanks to Kido, he's seen multiple occasions. Summoning creatures through Zanpakuto or whatever, hollows, he's seen that too. So there really isn't much Orochimaru can throw at Mayuri that Mayuri hasn't already seen in his life. Whereas Mayuri, on the other end, can do just that towards Orochimaru. And on a much more detailed level. And even if Orochimaru is able to get some sort of hit in on him, Mayuri, he can just, grow it all in back. He can actually restructure the nerves in his arm at light speed. That's how fast Mayuri can move. For me, it's Mayuri. Mayuri's the guy who's going to win this fight. This is just my opinion, obviously. And there's also I didn't even bring in the Terra Magnitude 4, which in theory could just paralyze Orochimaru straight there. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. But who do you think would win, Mayuri or Orochimaru? Let me know in the comments below. But until then, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.